Ho, Heaven on Earth, written by Emeka Mbadiwe, narrated by Emeka Mbadiwe. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley. Acknowledgements and dedications. I am partly appreciative of the health issues and problems that I faced over the years. If it had not been for them, I would never have dove deep into finding answers and solutions to many health problems that I then used to help many others with their health needs. Some things that may seem bad can be turned around and used for good. I dedicate this book to my family, the most important people in my life, especially to my nieces and nephews, Veronica, Naomi, Isaac, and Victor, who are now the youngest. To every YouTube teacher and lecturer on health, thank you. To my editors, Lisa King and Marco Mbadiwe, thank you. To Dr. Sebi, may he rest in peace, 11/26/1933 to 8/6/2016. You can truly experience heaven on earth. Disclaimer. This book is intended to serve only as a resource and educational guide. Neither the author nor the publisher is engaged in rendering professional advice or services to the reader. The ideas, procedures, and suggestions in this book are not intended as a substitute for consulting a physician or a licensed health care practitioner. The author and publisher shall not be liable or responsible for any loss, injury, damage allegedly arising from any information or suggestions in this book. Behold. Introduction. You now hold in your hands the knowledge that will lead you to understand the closest thing we as human beings will ever come to experiencing heaven on earth. What would heaven on earth be like? It will first start with optimal health, because without your health, you have nothing. This is why I start this book off focusing on achieving optimal and excellent health. I then make my way down to a few ideas and suggestions on ways that you can accomplish everything I mentioned about health, as well as accomplishing all of your life goals. The information that I have provided will be like gas for your engine. It is meant for you to digest and practice as well as do your own research. I will touch on many things briefly, not to overwhelm you on any specific topics, but I encourage you to go deeper. If you come across anything that you want more knowledge about, research it further. A fact is a fact, but 10 opinions are better than one. Seek the knowledge and apply these principles to your life. The saying goes, knowledge is power, but knowledge is only potential power. The knowledge has to be applied for it to work. Most important principle. Eating proper portions is as important as eating the right foods. Many illnesses, diseases, and poor health come from overeating on any food. What causes overeating? Mainly foods that taste really, quote-unquote, good, but are not good for you. They are usually foods that are high in fat, sugar, or salt. How not to overeat? Trying not to overeat can be very difficult, especially if you have been eating this way your entire life. Trust me, I know how difficult it can be. I struggle with overeating at times. I am a foodie, and I love, love, love food. Did I mention I love food? Here is something that helps me not to overeat. 30 minutes or so before a meal, I would eat something as small as an apple or a banana, and by the time I'm ready to eat my actual meal, I'm not as hungry. We tend to overeat because we wait until we are starving to eat, so it would be ideal to snack throughout the day. An apple here, a banana there, some watermelon, or some nuts or seeds can do the trick. But warning, it is very easy to overeat on nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are very high in fat, so be very careful with these. A handful of nuts are sufficient. I never try to eat nuts when I'm quote-unquote hungry, because I may end up eating an entire bag, which is not good. But for some reason, I never tend to overeat on apples. Go figure. I once had a paper shredder in my house. I said once had because I eventually had to lay it to rest. Here's what happened. It was a pretty good paper shredder, and I would use it to shred all kinds of documents, unread mail, envelopes, and sometimes even old photos. This machine was designed to shred maybe 4 to 5 sheets of paper at a time, but it was very powerful, so sometimes I would get away with sliding in 5 to 10 sheets of paper at a time. The machine would make a loud noise trying to push through 10 sheets of paper, and it would even smoke a bit. There were times it would stop completely, and I would have to open it, remove the jammed paper, and start all over again. One day, I tried to push 11 sheets of paper through at the same time, and poof, it shut down. I took out the jammed paper and tried to slide in 1 sheet of paper, but it didn't go through. It had died on me. The machine was designed to take in a certain amount of paper at a time, but because of the way I was abusing it, it eventually died on me. The machine would take 10 pieces of paper at a time sometimes, but it was not designed to do so. I want you to think of your digestive system in the same way. Your system can take as much food as you can eat, but not too much at the same time. Your system was not designed to be stuffed with so much food in that way, especially with foods that are difficult to shred. This is why we should space out our foods and eat in smaller portions. Always keep this paper shredder analogy in mind when you are eating your food. Overeating example. Here is an example of overeating that you may not have realized is overeating. Think about a typical trip to a restaurant. The average person will order an appetizer, then eat that, then order a main meal, and after that, then order a dessert. Now, once they eat this appetizer, the body starts to work on that appetizer. But before it's done working on it, here comes the main meal. Now the body has to store the appetizer and start working on the main meal. The body starts to work on the main meal now, but here comes dessert. The digestive system now has to store the main meal and start working on the dessert. The system is now stressed and it's storing things where they shouldn't be stored. Now undigested foods remain in the system longer than they should be, resulting in fat accumulation. Later on, I will provide a short list of foods that I highly suggest you try your best to avoid and or eliminate from your diet. I will also explain the problems with these foods. If your main meal fills you up, then a dessert is not mandatory. You can always get something to go and eat it later. Always remember small portions and space out your foods. The poison is in the dose. There is more energy used in the process of digestion than any other function of the human body. I think that is worth repeating. There is more energy being used in the process of digestion than any other function of the human body. The more you eat, the more energy your body has to use to break down and digest foods, which usually results in you feeling weak and tired. When you overeat, you are causing a major stress on the digestive system and making it very difficult for your body to get what it needs from the foods and to get rid of what it doesn't need. This is where most problems with the body begin to occur. Try to eliminate and drastically reduce your meat intake. Also, any food that is difficult to chew. Anything that is difficult to chew will also be difficult to digest. Most people will put a piece of steak in their mouth, chew 5 times, and then swallow. Remember, your stomach doesn't have teeth. Quick tip. Remember, it is possible to overeat on any food. Too much of anything that is good becomes bad. Chewing. Chewing your food properly is the single most important step in the process of digestion. Digestion starts in the mouth, not in the gut. Your saliva has enzymes that actually start breaking down and preparing the food before its journey. Many of the fibers and nutrients are embedded deep inside the foods, so chewing properly can release them. The more you chew, the less work your digestive system has to do. For the third time, more energy is used during the process of digestion than any other function of the human body. When you start chewing, your brain signals to your stomach that food is on its way, and then your digestive system begins to prepare to receive that food. If you like to make smoothies, I would recommend chewing your smoothie a bit before swallowing it. Let some of those digestive enzymes in your mouth swish and mix with that smoothie before you swallow, instead of just chugging it down. When you sit down at your next meal, remember to chew the food until it's a mush or a liquid, and then swallow. This will do wonders for your body. Bad foods. Below is a list of 7 main food items that are possibly the primary factors and main causes for most problems occurring in the bodies today. I will explain the problems with each of these foods below. Processed sugar, bread and white flour, wheat, dairy, cheese, milk, corn, meats, partially hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup. Problems with sugar. White table sugar is processed. Sugar can spike insulin to abnormally high levels. Sugar can increase the risk of developing certain types of diseases. Sugar can ruin your teeth and cause cavities. Sugar is also associated with acne. Sugar can cause weight gain and belly fat. Sugar can be as addictive as a drug. Sugar may increase your risk of heart disease. Sugar can increase your risk of diabetes. Sugar can accelerate the skin aging process. I can fill up this book if I keep going. Problem with bread. Sometimes you may see a label on packaged bread that says fortified. This means that vitamins and minerals were added to increase its nutritional value. The bread has to be fortified because of the nutrients that were stripped away during the processing of it. After processing, it is dead and lifeless. Bread sticks to the gut and remains in the body longer than it should. If you drop an apple into a juicer, that apple will go through smooth and give you fresh juice. But if you drop a slice of bread into that juicer, you're going to have a problem. The same way that juicer will try to process that bread is the same way your body will try to process that bread. The body will process it, but it will cause a major stress on the system. Just keep that in mind. Problem with wheat. Eating wheat increases the potential for a surprising number of health problems. It is well known that some people, like those with celiac disease, need to stay away from it. The problem is that their small intestine is unable to properly digest gluten. Many people without celiac disease have the same problem but don't realize it. Wheat raises blood sugar levels and inhibits the absorption of important minerals. It also aggravates our intestines. Unfortunately, the wheat of today is not the same wheat of the past. Man has tampered with our food and is to be blamed for most of the foods that are giving us problems today. Wheat is one of the major causes of many health problems today. If you would like to dive deeper on this subject, I highly recommend a book called Wheat Belly by William Davis. Problem with milk. Growth hormones, vaccinations, and antibiotics are pumped into cows and the milk of today. These additives in the milk are arguably a major reason for much of the obesity we see today. Cow's milk also contains casein, which is undigestible by the human body. Cow's milk is designed for baby calves. Drinking the milk alone, a baby calf grows to over 1,000 pounds in less than a year. It is said that we need calcium from milk to have strong bones. But consider this fact. America is the country with the highest consumption of dairy, but also with the highest rate of osteoporosis in the world. Osteoporosis is a condition in which the bones become weak and brittle. There are many other problems with dairy. Dive deeper and do further research to learn more. Problem with cheese. Cheese is very high in sodium, which will make your blood pressure rise. It is also high in cholesterol and saturated fat, which will also cause your blood cholesterol levels to rise. The saturated fat makes your blood thicker, which can cause all types of problems in the body. Cheese is also responsible for weight gain, and it remains in the gut much longer than you would like it there. Problem with corn. Corn is not the healthiest grain, even though many people believe it to be. It is actually the most sugary and starchy grain. Many people suffer from gluten sensitivity as well as gluten intolerances, and gluten can activate an autoimmune disease. Did you know that corn can also activate an autoimmune disease? Corn in itself does not have gluten, but it can irritate the digestive system and the gut lining. Your body can mistake the proteins in corn for gluten. Corn is covered with pesticides and is extremely difficult for your system to digest. It is also a high glycemic index food. Foods with a high glycemic index are not the best for the body because these foods easily convert into sugar, which is not friendly to the body in large amounts. This leads to an increased boost of insulin, which increases the inflammation in the body. Problem with meat. There is a huge debate today on whether or not we are supposed to eat meat. Meat does provide some essential nutrients, but there are also many studies that show that a plant-based diet could be healthier. So here's the problem with meat, or too much meat. First of all, meat is very difficult to digest, and most people don't even chew the meat properly. I often see people bite into a burger and consume it like a liquid. I was once guilty of this, leaving particles of unchewed meat that their digestive system has to struggle to break down. Meat was a part of our ancestors' diet, yes, but the meat they ate back then, unfortunately, is not the same meat people are eating today. The cows and the chickens of today are eating genetically modified foods. They are being mistreated and also being pumped with hormones, antibiotics, and many other chemicals. Problem with high fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated soybean oils, trans fats. Processed food is perhaps the most damaging aspect of most people's diet. The two primary culprits are high fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated soybean oil, which is trans fats. These two ingredients, either alone or in combination, can be found in virtually all processed foods, and one can make a compelling argument that the reliance on these two ingredients are the primary contributing factor for most of the degenerative diseases attacking Americans today. One of the reasons these ingredients are used is to preserve packaged foods so they can last on the shelves for years. These ingredients cause chaos in the body. Avoid them at all costs. Quick tip: if you don't recognize an ingredient, your body won't either. How I healed myself. I have successfully been able to heal myself from asthma, high blood pressure, cystic acne, and sleep apnea. What is asthma? Asthma is a condition in which your airways narrow, swell, and produce extra mucus. This can make breathing difficult and trigger coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath. How I healed myself. This one was easy. A quick story. I was born with asthma and took medication my whole life. I don't ever remember not taking meds. I had an asthma pump throughout junior high school and high school. I used the pump just about every single day, especially because I ran track and played a lot of basketball. I had to use the pump before any kind of physical activity. When I was in college, someone recommended that I eliminate dairy in all of its forms. Dairy is mucus forming and a massive congestant. I cut out all dairy, and in less than a month, the asthma went away completely. Just like that. Point blank period. What is high blood pressure? High blood pressure is a condition in which the force of the blood against the artery walls is too high. How I healed myself. I did daily cardiovascular exercises along with eating proper portions of food. When you overeat, you usually take in excess sodium, especially if you eat in large portions. I reduced my stress levels and practiced transcendental meditation. I also drastically reduced my sodium intake. Most importantly, was getting rid of sleep apnea, which also causes high blood pressure. What is cystic acne? Cystic acne is the most serious type of acne. It develops when cysts form deep underneath your skin. This can result from a combination of bacteria, oil, and dry skin cells that get trapped in your pores. How I healed myself. I reduced the amount of foods I would eat at a time. I eliminated processed foods along with, most importantly, high glycemic index foods. Glycemic index is a measurement of how fast blood sugar levels rise in the body after eating a particular food. The foods that arguably have the highest glycemic index and are very inflammatory are wheat, dairy, and sugar. After you consume a high glycemic index food, insulin is produced. White blood cells travel towards the clogged follicle and produce enzymes that break down cells in the skin area. Inflammation then encourages overproduction of pimple-producing hormones in the body. What is sleep apnea? Sleep apnea is a condition where there is a continuous interruption of breathing during sleep. Your tongue falls to the back of your throat while you're sleeping, resulting in snoring or the complete blockage of the airway temporarily until you are woken up forcefully due to you being unable to breathe. The brain temporarily goes without oxygen. Your brain needs a constant supply of oxygen so it can function properly. In an attempt to increase oxygen levels, the heart will have to pump harder and faster, causing blood vessels to constrict, which would lead to high blood pressure. Some factors that may contribute to obstructive sleep apnea are obesity, receding jaw with a narrowed airway, swollen tonsils, smoking, alcohol, sedatives, or vitamin D deficiency. Symptoms of obstructed sleep apnea are snoring, excessive tiredness during the day, morning headaches, and/or fatigue. How I healed from it. For me, it was a deficiency in vitamin D. My levels were extremely low. I discovered this once I did a blood test. Because of where I reside, I wasn't getting enough sun. I also wasn't going outside much. I began taking vitamin D supplements and getting as much sun as possible. I also now sleep on my side and not my back. Sleeping on your back is one of the worst things you can do if you have sleep apnea, because your tongue falls back, which can cause an obstruction of the airway. Vitamins. I believe it is very difficult to get all of the nutrition you need from any type of diet. Unfortunately, the foods of today have been very much tampered with and manipulated. For example, studies have shown that up to 80% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. We get this vitamin mainly from the sun, but most people don't go outdoors long enough to get a sufficient amount. Once deficient in this vitamin alone, you can suffer from a range of problems such as sleep apnea. Low levels of vitamin D cause a relaxation of the tongue during sleep, which causes it to fall to the back of our throat, causing an obstruction of the airways. Do a blood test to check for any deficiencies, vitamin A to Z, as well as all minerals. When you see your doctor next, you want to request a full CBC, which stands for Complete Blood Count. A CBC is a blood test used to evaluate your overall health and detect a wide range of disorders. Once the results are back, your doctor should be able to go over all the results with you. Do not be afraid to ask questions about anything that you don't understand. You should also learn to read your blood test yourself as well. Below is a section from a sample blood test chart. On the left column, you would see the name of the test given. For example, WBC stands for white blood cell count. This count is very important. The white blood cells are the cells of the immune system that are involved in protecting the body against infectious diseases and foreign invaders. The next and second column on the chart will be your results. Once you see your results, you will look to the extreme right where you will see the range. Now the range shows the numbers in which your results should be in between. For example, if a test result range is between 4 and 11 and yours is a 6, then you should be in good hands. But if the range is from 4 to 11 and yours is a 2 or a 3, then that should raise a red flag. Fasting. Why fasting is so important and what the benefits are. Disclaimer. Everyone may not be able to do a fast due to his or her current health or age. It is never encouraged to go all out and be radical with fasting. If you are accustomed to eating 3 meals a day, you can slowly introduce fasting by eating 2 meals a day, then slowly moving to 1 meal a day, then maybe just smoothies for a day, then eventually just water for the day. But whatever you decide to do, if you are new to fasting, Be sure to have supervision or let someone who is close to you know that you are fasting so that they can assist in monitoring you. You should also consult with a physician. Fasting is the number one thing that allows your body to heal itself. The gut needs a chance to relax. Once your gut can relax, your body will begin to heal itself. When you pause eating temporarily and drinking only fresh water, your cells as well as your digestive system has a chance to rest. For the fourth time, there is more energy being used during the process of digestion than any other function of the human body. So during fasting, this energy will be redirected to do other wonderful things in the body, such as healing. Most healing takes place at night when you are sleeping. And guess what your body is doing when you are sleeping? You guessed it, fasting. That is why breakfast is called break fast, because you're essentially breaking your fast when you eat in the morning. When you fast, your body may go through a brief detox and you may experience symptoms such as feeling weak, hunger pains, headaches, acne, gas, etc. Your body will be removing toxins during this time. People usually feel better after the third day of fasting because by then, most of the toxins should have been removed. Hunger pains vanish as well. I once completed a 7-day fast. I just had water, and by the third day, I wasn't even as hungry. I felt a bit weak, but not as hungry as I was on the first 2 days. 2 to 3 weeks before you go into a fast, you should begin to prep the body by trying your hardest to eliminate or reduce drastically your intake of meat, dairy, sugar, eggs, wheat, white flour, and processed foods. This may not be easy, especially if they were your daily consumption, but it's worth it. This is your health. And when breaking your fast, do not break it by overeating. It's very easy and tempting to watch the clock as your fast comes to an end and then going to indulge. Plan everything out beforehand and have healthy foods ready. Fruits and vegetables are ideal, and be sure to space out the meals. You can choose a fruit to break your fast with, then maybe a few hours later another fruit or a smoothie. Then, from this moment on, focus on eating healthy foods, spacing out meals and trying not to overeat on any food. Overeating on any food is just as bad as eating bad foods. People have healed themselves from all types of diseases just through fasting. Many so-called incurable diseases have vanished from many people. Take some time and research about the many people who have healed themselves from fasting alone. If you study animals in the wild, you will see that when they are sick, they can go days without food. Not because they can't find food, but this is a natural mechanism for them to avoid food while they recover. A very good book where you can learn a tremendous amount of helpful information about fasting is a book titled The Miracle of Fasting by Paul Bragg. Grab a copy of this book if you can and learn more. It can save your life. Alkaline foods. I suggest eating alkaline fruits and vegetables. Alkaline simply means natural, not altered or genetically modified. The opposite of alkaline would be acidic. There is a list of foods recommended by Dr. Sebi that he suggests are the most alkaline foods to eat. I myself eat from this list about 95% of the time. I will provide his food list below, but first I will give a brief bio of who Dr. Sebi was and exactly what he did to cure hundreds, if not thousands, of people. I highly suggest you do further research on him. All of his videos can be found on YouTube. Quick tip. If you can't eat it responsibly, keep it out of the house. Who is Dr. Sebi? Alfredo Darrington Bowman, better known as Dr. Sebi, was a Honduran herbalist and self-proclaimed healer. Bowman claimed to have cured all kinds of diseases with herbs and a vegan diet. Diseases ranging from cancer, diabetes, herpes, and AIDS. In the 1980s, Dr. Sebi began to run marketing ads claiming to have cured people of AIDS, lupus, sickle cell, herpes, and leukemia. The FDA caught wind of these claims and sued Dr. Sebi for false advertising and for practicing without a license. He was arrested and had to face the Supreme Court. The judge ordered Sebi to bring in one witness per disease that he claimed to have cured. The witnesses had to bring in documentation stating that they once had the disease from one doctor and another document from another doctor that they were cured of their disease. Dr. Sebi brought over 70 witnesses to court with him. After the witnesses provided these documents, Dr. Sebi was found not guilty. He took on the Supreme Court and won. This case has been documented and can be found online. He has given health advice and helped many notable celebrities heal themselves, including Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Steven Seagal, John Travolta, Eddie Murphy, and Michael Jackson. Dr. Sebi died mysteriously in Honduras on August 6, 2016, at the age of 82. The food list below is a list of foods that Dr. Sebi approved of and considered alkaline foods. He used these particular foods with many of his patients and he highly recommended them. Again, I eat from this list about 95% of the time. Vegetable section: amaranth greens, avocado, bell peppers, coyote, which is Mexican squash, cucumber, dandelion greens, garbanzo beans, which is chickpeas, izotes, cactus flower, and cactus leaf, kale, lettuce, all except iceberg, mushrooms, all except shiitake, nopals, which is Mexican cactus, okra, olives, onions, purslane, poke salad, sea vegetables, squash, cherry tomato and plum tomatoes only, tomatillo, turnip greens, watercress, zucchini, wild arugula. Fruits section: apples, small bananas or burro bananas, berries, all varieties, elderberries in any form, cantaloupe, cherries, currants, dates, figs, grapes, limes, key limes preferred with seeds, mango, seeded melons, oranges, papayas, peaches, pears, plums, prickly pear, prunes, raisins seeded, soft jelly coconuts, soursop. Nuts and seeds section: Brazil nuts, hemp seed, raw sesame seeds, walnuts. Oils section: olive oil, do not cook, coconut oil, do not cook, grapeseed oil, sesame oil, hemp seed oil, avocado oil. Seasonings: artichoke, basil, bay leaf, cayenne pepper, dill, habanero, onion powder, oregano, powdered seaweed, pure sea salt, sage, savory, sweet basil, tarragon, thyme, cloves. Sugar section: 100% pure agave syrup from the cactus, date and date sugar. Grains section: amaranth, fonio, kamut, quinoa, rye, spelt, teff, wild rice. Herbs that Dr. Sebi spoke of and used the most: alvaca, anise, burdock root, bladderwrack, blue vervain, chamomile, cloves, fennel, ginger, lemongrass, red raspberry, sea moss, sarsaparilla. For some great alkaline recipes that utilize the ingredients from this list, I have found some good YouTube channels that I share with you below. Number 1, Blended Abode Show. Number 2, Ty's Conscious Kitchen. Number 3, Modest Vegan Chick. Number 4, Tish Wonders. Not all from Sebi's list, but she has great recipes. And number 5, Alkaline Meal Ideas. Quick tip: grains and legumes can be very hard to absorb and digest. Be sure to soak, ferment, or sprout them before eating for better digestion. I usually soak my chickpeas overnight. Always rinse grains and legumes before cooking. What is a hybrid food? I've had many questions about what are hybrid foods and are they safe to eat. First, let me address what a hybrid food is. A hybrid food is a man-made, cross-pollinated food which does not occur naturally in nature. They cannot grow in the wild or reproduce. Many of them are seedless. They are usually imbalanced in mineral and vitamin ratio. Some of these foods include seedless fruits and vegetables, broccoli, corn, carrots, and beets. How are hybrid foods created? You have a natural fruit or plant and another natural fruit or plant. You splice the roots of these two plants and bind the two of them at the root with starch, then recreate a new species of plant or fruit. Some now call this method natural selection. Without man intervening, this process could never occur on its own. Do hybrid fruits and vegetables have any nutritional value? The answer is yes, but there is an imbalance and this splicing process is not natural. Will there be any long-term consequences from eating these hybrid foods? That hasn't been proven scientifically. I am not suggesting eating or not eating these foods, but I'm explaining and answering the question to what a hybrid food is. You will ultimately have to decide what you want in your body now that you know. You can do further research on this idea, but nevertheless, a carrot or a piece of broccoli will always be 100 times better than a piece of chocolate cake. Balance. Many issues and problems in the body could in fact be genetically passed on to us from our parents. I do believe these genes can remain dormant in the body and become activated according to our diets. I don't believe that diseases get passed down from generation to generation, but eating habits do. Always remember, every time you sit down to eat a meal, you are either feeding a disease or fighting it. A wise man once said, "Everything in moderation," and I totally agree with that. There's no one diet plan that will serve everybody. We can consume almost anything, but remember, the poison is in the dose. If you truly must consume the foods that are not recommended, at least do it in moderation and very rarely. Life is about balance. If you can do 80% right and 20% wrong, then I believe you can still be okay. But if you are sick or experiencing a disease that you are trying to heal from, then it's best to try to do 90 to 100% good, at least until you've healed yourself completely. Do not allow yourself to get stressed out over food by trying to be perfect. No one is perfect, and trying to be so will bring stress into your life. No matter how healthy you try to be, if you are stressed out all the time, you will be unhealthy, period. Quick tip. Your body has a built-in healing mechanism and you can heal yourself. Let thy food be thy medicine, Hippocrates. Stress. Did you know that most of the stress that people have in their lives is from thinking about things that didn't even happen yet? They're either dwelling on something bad from the past or fearing something that can potentially happen in the future. Is my boss going to fire me? My kid is going to fail that class. This bill is due in 5 days. When is he or she going to call? Are they going to reply to my email? How am I going to pay this rent? Is he or she cheating on me? How am I going to afford this? How will I ever finish all of this work by Friday? The wedding is right around the corner. This bank is going to take the car back. Will I ever get married? I have that huge meeting next week. Does this sound like anything that you're currently stressing over? Once we have these negative thoughts, the body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, into our blood. Stress is actually a normal part of life. At times, it serves a useful purpose, but many people are thinking about things that didn't even happen yet and may not even happen at all. Anxiety is not caused by any particular situation. Anxiety is caused by how you respond to that situation. How you choose to think about that situation will affect how anxiety will affect you. Take a minute to think of 4 things that you feel are currently stressing you out. Are they things that are actually happening now? Or are they things that you are anticipating and may actually never even end up happening? If we took the time to focus mainly on the current day, then our stress levels will decrease drastically. What do you need to do today? That's a question I ask myself each day, especially when thoughts of tomorrow or next week seep into my mind. The fact of the matter is no one is guaranteed next week. No one is guaranteed tomorrow. So why do we spend so much time thinking about it? I can assure you that today is more important than tomorrow, because tomorrow hasn't even been created yet. Yes, but that bill is due in 5 days. Cross that bridge when it comes. Why stress over it now? Yes, but that big meeting is coming up. It's going to come whether you stress over it or not. But my kid is going to fail that class. Wait for the report card to find out. Will I ever get married? If you're still breathing, then there's still hope. But that job I applied for hasn't gotten back to me. Thinking about it won't make them contact you sooner. Get the point? These things are a part of life and will happen. Just deal with them when they happen. No need to stress over them. If there are things that you can do today that can help an unwanted situation from happening next week, then do that thing today. No need to stress over it. Stress is a silent killer. Stress is one of the leading causes of all diseases. We overeat when we are stressed. We undersleep when we are stressed. A genetic disease may remain dormant in the body until stress gives it life. Avoid stress at all costs. It all starts with your mind. Find some things that you can do to help eliminate and or drastically reduce stress from your life. Exercising, deep breathing, and meditation can be very helpful. I will touch on those 3 topics below. Exercise. Movement is medicine. I think that is worth repeating. Movement is medicine. Exercise is one of the key essentials needed for overall good health and longevity. Not to mention that it is a massive stress reliever. You can feel better, have more energy, and function better all around. Here are just a few benefits from regular exercise. Relieves stress, weight loss and weight control, fights poor health conditions and diseases, improves your mood, boosts your energy levels, promotes better sleep, keeps blood and everything circulating properly, promotes and strengthens your discipline. Different ways of exercising include, but are not limited to, power walking, which is walking at a rapid pace, dancing, running, swimming, weightlifting, jump roping, bicycle riding, playing sports. Unfortunately, walking to and from the refrigerator is not exercise, although some people believe that it is. The most important exercise is cardiovascular exercise, aka cardio, which could be anything that gets your heart rate and breathing going. You want to get your heart pumping and your blood circulating. Lifting weights, using weight machines, resistance exercise, and core workouts are not considered to be cardio exercise, as they don't raise your heart rate as much throughout the exercise period. Some people may not have the time to go to the gym or even like going to the gym, but that shouldn't stop you from doing exercise. I suggest going on YouTube and searching cardio exercises I can do at home. You should be able to find a few that you like. Learn them and do them every day or at least 5 days a week. 20 to 60 minutes of cardiovascular exercise per day will put you in a great place. Also, be sure to warm up for about 5 to 10 minutes at a low intensity and be sure to stretch. Warm up to get blood flowing to your muscles and loosen up. With exercise, you will help to combat stroke, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, anxiety, many types of cancer, arthritis, and many other problems and issues that the body experiences. Always remember, health is wealth. Don't let your muscles wither away. Whatever you don't use, you lose. Quick tip. You won't look like $1,000,000 if you eat from the dollar menu. Deep breathing. I remember one morning when I was in elementary school, we were out in the playground. I witnessed the first fight that I ever seen in real life. 2 kids were literally on top of each other, punching and wrestling. I was amazed to what was happening. Within seconds, 2 teachers came and separated the 2, and they both began to cry. One teacher took one of the kids over to one corner, and the other teacher took the other kid over to another corner where I was standing. The kid was crying heavily and gasping for air, and all I can remember was the teacher saying to him, "Okay, just calm down. Breathe. Good. Take a deep breath. Now, exhale. Good. One more time. Deep breath. Exhale." I watched this kid go from what looked like a panic attack to being as calm as the morning breeze. This was a very stressful situation for this young boy, but just a little inhaling and exhaling transformed the whole situation. It wasn't until many years later that I found out and realized the effects on stress that deep breathing has. If that little bit of deep breathing had that kind of effect on that little boy, imagine what focused and conscious deep breathing can do as a daily routine. I personally try to practice deep breathing twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Many people are shallow breathers and don't take in an adequate amount of oxygen in a day. I myself am a shallow breather, maybe because of my history of asthma, and have to consciously be aware of my breathing throughout the day. To practice deep breathing, find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Take a few normal breaths and then try a few deep breaths. Breathe in slowly through your nose and allow your chest and lower belly to rise as oxygen fills your lungs. Let your abdomen expand fully and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Do this for about 10 to 20 breaths. But start off light with about 5 deep breaths so that you can get used to it. Taking too many deep breaths, if you are not used to it, can make you feel a bit dizzy. If you feel a bit dizzy after a few deep breaths, then it's okay to stop and continue after a few moments. When doing deep breathing, try to practice diaphragmatic breathing, breathing from the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle that is located horizontally between the thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity. Many people get into the habit of breathing only with their chests. If you watch a baby breathe, you will notice that the baby breathes from his or her diaphragm. This type of breathing is done by contracting the diaphragm. Air enters the lungs, the chest does not rise, and the belly expands during this type of breathing. The following is an example to know if you are doing this correctly. Put one hand on your chest and the other hand on your stomach. Having a hand here will allow you to feel your diaphragm move as you breathe. Take a deep breath in slowly through your nose. When you take in air, you want to feel your stomach rising instead of your chest. The hand on your chest should remain relatively still, then breathe out slowly from your mouth. If you find this type of belly breathing awkward at first, it may be because you are usually breathing with your chest. Practicing this type of deep breathing at least 3 times a day should eventually get you into a natural breathing rhythm. Meditation. Many people have the wrong idea about meditation. They think meditation is about sitting in a difficult position with your legs crossed like Buddha and silencing your mind and thinking about nothing for 30 minutes. If that's what you thought, you have the wrong idea. Meditation is simply putting yourself in a quiet place where you can remain still for a certain period of time, sitting in a chair or in a bed or even laying down. I don't suggest laying down at first because your body can be tricked to thinking that you would like to take a little nap. You don't want to fall asleep. Sitting still for 10 to 20 minutes can be one of the most difficult things a human being can do. We are a restless people. The idea of silencing your mind can only be accomplished if you are dead. It is impossible to silence your mind completely and think about nothing. Your mind is constantly going, but you can slow it down drastically. This is accomplished by trying to focus on a particular thing, a mantra that you can recite, or simply focusing on your breath. Many thoughts will enter your mind at first, but you don't have to worry about them. Remember, the goal isn't so much to silence your mind completely, but to train yourself to remain still for 10 to 20 minutes. Consider this analogy. Visualize a Christmas snow globe. A snow globe is a water-filled glass ball that we see often during Christmas time, and it is filled with white little particles that look like snow. When you shake it, all the particles start to float all over the water. Once you settle it down, you can come back in about 20 minutes and all of that snow will be at the bottom of the snow globe. This is very similar to your mind. Your mind is equivalent to that shaken up snow globe, your thoughts going all over the place. But once you actually sit down to meditate, in the same way, all of your thoughts will eventually settle. But it takes time and practice. Start off with something light, like maybe 5 minutes, then increase it over time until you average about 15 to 20 minutes. You can do it. When you sit your body down and command it to obey you, you will begin to gain mastery over your body and mind. The more you do this, the more your body will obey, and the more of a master you will become. Most people will sit down and attempt to meditate, and their body will say to them, "I don't want to do this anymore," and they immediately get up and give up. See it as an act of discipline at first. Tell yourself, I'm going to sit in this chair for 10 minutes. I don't care how many thoughts are running through my mind. I will not move. If you do this over and over again, your body will begin to submit to you instead of you submitting to it. It will take some time and practice, but I can assure you it will be worth it once you have gained control. If you would like to dive deeper on this subject, there's a great book that can help you achieve success in meditation called Success Through Stillness by Russell Simmons. He also has an audiobook available on Amazon. Sleep. Undersleeping can be just as detrimental as overeating. In fact, the two biggest points in this entire book and the worst things that you can do to your body are overeating and undersleeping. If you're going to take away anything from this book, let it be those two things. Most of the problems people face today concerning their health are tied to either overeating or undersleeping. Try to get to bed early and try to wake up early and sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours a night. The same things that you have to get done at night, you can get them done early in the morning. The more you eat, the more sleep you require. The less you eat, the less sleep your body will need. Avoid things that will keep you up late at night. The later you are up at night, the more likely you are to eat late. The television is something that will keep you up late at night, and especially cause you to eat late. You don't want your body working to digest food while you sleep. Quick tip: go to bed on an empty stomach. Rest room. If you're eating at least 3 times a day, you want to have a bowel movement at least once a day. If you are not going at least once a day, then that could be an indication that something is wrong on the inside. Our body is not a storehouse for food. We need to get the foods into our bodies. The bodies take what it needs from it, then gets rid of the rest. There is no reason that food should be lingering in our guts. Our gut is not a refrigerator. If food wants to remain in your body for more than a day, you need to make that food sign a lease and start paying rent. That was a joke. Here are some of the reasons why you might not be having a bowel movement at least once a day. Not chewing your food properly. Not eating enough fiber-rich foods. Not drinking enough water. Stress. Consuming dairy. Eating too much fiber. Eating foods that are making you constipated. Not enough exercise and/or movement. Resisting the urge to go. Overuse of laxatives and/or some medications. When the food remains and lingers in the guts, it starts to produce bacteria and toxins. This begins to poison the body and creates all kinds of sicknesses and diseases. Self-discipline. I'd be remiss if I shared with you so much about health, yet didn't talk about discipline and how to take action towards your new goals and breaking bad habits. Without self-discipline, you will not be able to accomplish anything in this book. This is the single most important quality to succeed in just about anything. If you can discipline yourself to do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not, nothing will be impossible for you. The difference between the people who are very successful and the people who are not successful is that the successful people do the things that the unsuccessful people don't want to do. They are faced with the same challenges, but they make different choices and decisions. Successful people delay gratification, meaning they think long-term instead of short-term. For example, a successful person might feel stressed out and want to indulge in a big plate of unhealthy food to ease their stress, but they decide to be disciplined and not do it. An unsuccessful person might say to him or herself, "I'm so stressed out, this giant bowl of chocolate ice cream will make me feel much better." Then they partake in it. A successful person will get dressed and get ready to go to the gym, look out the window, see that it's raining and say to him or herself, "The weather is terrible, but today is Monday and I can't afford to miss the gym this week." And they pick up their umbrella and they go. An unsuccessful person will get dressed and get ready to go to the gym, look out the window and see that it's raining and say to him or herself, "Wow, I didn't realize it was raining. I definitely don't want these new shoes to get wet. I'll just go tomorrow." And they stay home. A successful person sets his or her alarm clock to get up at 6 a.m., When that alarm goes off, they sit up in their bed, stand up, and attack their day. An unsuccessful person sets his or her alarm clock to get up at 6 a.m. When that alarm goes off, they reach over and hit the snooze button and say to themselves, just 10 more minutes. It's so cold and this bed is so warm. Are you starting to get the point? A successful person does only those things that will ultimately help them reach and achieve their long-term goals. As hard as it may be, they delay gratification. They are not looking for immediate pleasure or quick satisfaction. They understand that making the right decisions might feel a little painful, but it all will count and matter in the long term. Remember this: everything you face in this life is a test. You are being tested to see whether you will do what the successful person should do or what the unsuccessful person is used to doing. Every time you pass a small test, your discipline actually grows stronger. Whenever you discipline yourself to do something small, it strengthens your other disciplines, and this will boost up your self-esteem. Anyone can learn to be disciplined. It just takes practice. Practice is the repetition of an action with the goal of improvement. Self-discipline and self-mastery can be yours. Begin today to practice it. Quick tip: don't wish for it, work for it. Habits. You have the power to break bad habits and create new ones. There's a saying that goes, the chains of habits are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. That means that the chains of the things that you do often are dangling around your neck, but you don't feel it because they're not heavy and they're invisible. But the more you do that particular thing, you add a new link to the chain. Then eventually, the chain becomes so thick and so heavy that it becomes extremely hard to remove. If you did something that you realized wasn't beneficial to you, and maybe you did it a second time, and even a third time, cut it off at the bud instead of letting it grow. If you drop a lit cigarette bud in the forest, that cigarette bud may linger for a bit, but eventually it will grow into a massive forest fire. You could have easily taken out that little bud of fire, but if you allowed it to take its time and grow, it will turn into a problem that was too much for you to handle. So, when you find yourself doing something that you realize isn't beneficial to you, nip it in the bud when you first notice it. Don't let it grow into a massive flame. Always remember that the chains of habits are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. It will probably be a good idea to write that down somewhere. Repetition. You have the ability to learn anything that you want in this world, or even create a new habit, as long as you are willing to have that information repeated over and over until it's implanted into your subconscious mind. Repetition of a message constitutes mental programming, meaning that the more and more you hear something in particular, it will be programmed into your subconscious mind whether you like it or not. I want you to think of your favorite song. If you were out at the mall shopping and that song began to play on the speakers, within the first second of hearing that song, you would immediately know what song it was even before you heard the first lyric. In fact, you may even know all the words from the beginning to the end. If you think about it, no one ever taught you the words to that song. You never took that song 101 in college. The reason that you know the words to that song well was because you heard it over and over again. It was repeated over and over again, and you never really paid attention in trying to learn the song, but just hearing it over and over again, it was planted into your subconscious mind. You don't even need to think about the lyrics. You can sing along without even thinking about it. And that same principle applies with anything in life. If there is something that you consciously want to learn, you can apply that same principle by consciously allowing yourself to do that particular thing over and over again until it is embedded in the same way that song was embedded. You can apply this to learning a new skill, applying a new practice in your life, or creating a new habit that you want, etc. When you go to the gym and see someone that is really in shape, I can assure you that they didn't do a particular exercise just 3 times. I'm sure they did it over and over again in order to have gotten the results they have. When you meet someone who is very smart, I can assure you that they didn't just read 2 books. They probably read many books and studied lots of things over and over again. So what are you going to choose to apply repetition to? Think about what you would like to apply this principle to. Do it as a test. It will be fun. Think of something you want to learn. Write it down and read it every single day for a while, and before you know it, it will be embedded. Think of a new good habit that you want to start practicing and do it every day for 30 to 60 days. You will see this principle begin to work before your eyes. A great book that teaches you how to become a master of your subconscious mind is Joseph Murphy's book entitled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Also, another very important book by the author Napoleon Hill titled Think and Grow Rich will teach you about the psychological idea he taught about called autosuggestion. He explains that no thought, whether it negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. Quick tip: find Napoleon Hill's book Think and Grow Rich and purchase it. Know thyself. Final chapter. One of the most important things that I believe when it comes to health is knowing thyself. Every human being on this earth is different. Your genetic makeup is unlike anyone else's that ever existed or ever will exist. Sometimes when trying to understand what is best for us, we have to take the responsibility to test it out and see if it works for us. Some things that might work for someone else might not necessarily work for you. I believe in trial and error. Your body is the best teacher. Your body will tell you what it needs. A pack of walnuts might be healthy for some people, but to those who are allergic, a pack of walnuts can lead to death. Years of doing research about the amount of water we should drink per day. Some say 6 to 8 cups, others say half a gallon, others suggest a full gallon. These so-called rules can't apply to every human being. I once adopted the idea of trying to drink a gallon of water a day. Many health instructors from my research had suggested this. As big as I am, almost 200 pounds, and as active as I am, it was still very difficult and challenging for me to drink that much water in a day. Plus, it didn't feel natural gulping that much water down. I found myself waking up every 2 to 3 hours a night to go to the bathroom, interrupting my REM sleep. Now, I drink about half a gallon and that's just fine for me. Life is about testing. When it comes to trying to figure out what foods may be giving you trouble, practice the idea of the process of elimination. You can simply remove a particular food from your diet for 2 to 3 weeks to see how you feel, and then reintroduce it after about a month. As mentioned earlier, I was born with asthma. I had been taking medication since I was a baby. I carried the asthma pump on me every single day and used it at least 2 to 3 times almost every day of my teenage and young adult years. When it was suggested that I remove dairy, this was very difficult for me because I loved cereal, loved pizza, and many other dairy products. But I took the challenge and completely eliminated dairy for 1 month. No milk, no cheese, no yogurt, no cream cheese, etc. The asthma went away completely and my mind was blown. I later found out that dairy is mucus forming and was probably responsible for the formation of mucus in my lungs. I would never have known that if I had not used the process of elimination. So what can you try to eliminate from your life to see if it helps your problem? It may be a challenge, especially if it is something that you love to eat every day, but it will be a good test of your discipline. You might be surprised at the incredible results that you may get. Here are a few different individual food items that many people have eliminated and experienced life-changing results. Dairy, eggs, processed sugar, nuts and seeds, white rice, bread, and/or wheat/gluten. Gluten is a huge one. If you choose to try the gluten challenge, be sure to check online to see all the foods that may contain gluten, because there are a lot of foods that you may not realize that have gluten in them. Also, you can do a food blood test to see what food you might be allergic to. Your body may not be allergic to a particular food, but you may have a food intolerance to it. May I suggest making YouTube one of your best friends when it comes to health? In my opinion, there is nothing better than to listen to testimonies from other people and at least hear what they have tried and what worked versus what didn't work for them. For example, if 50 different people had a similar problem that you are experiencing and said that they removed a particular food from their diet and got certain results, then isn't it worth at least giving it a shot? If you had a particular problem, let's say alopecia for example, I would go on YouTube and type in how I got rid of my alopecia, or how I got rid of my acne, or how I got rid of my fill in the blank. Then I would watch every single video that pops up on that subject. If you watched 50 videos and 45 different people said that they eliminated something or added something and got good results, as long as it's safe, isn't it worth giving it a shot? If they said they eliminated peanuts, for example, then give that a shot. If they said they drunk bleach, then obviously that is foolish. You must use wisdom. You may not find the exact answers, but you can at least be led in the right direction on your journey to healing yourself, because only you can truly heal yourself. Don't skip or bypass medical advice from your doctor, but you must become a mad scientist in finding out how you can take full control over your health. Only you can do this. You must know thyself. In closing, every single chapter in this book may not have applied to you, but I hope a good percentage has, and that your life has been and will be impacted as you apply these principles. If you believe this book has changed your life for the better, how about helping to change the life of someone else? You can recommend this book to someone, but an even better thing to do would be to purchase one for a loved one, a friend, a family member, or anyone that you think can benefit from this information. If you purchased this book on Amazon, consider leaving me an honest review. I now leave you with this, my friend. May peace, great abundance, and everlasting love and joy be granted to you and your loved ones. Receive it. Amen. About the author. Emeka Mbadiwe is a humanitarian and a firm believer in the power of the subconscious mind. His passion is to help people realize that they can have control over their health, their mind, and how they view and deal with their circumstances. Emeka is also a filmmaker who has created many films that inspire, educate, encourage, and motivate his viewers to have hope. Many of his films have gained millions of views around the world. You can follow his journey and check out some of his short films on his website at www.emekambadiwe.com or send him an email at contactemeka@gmail.com. You can also follow or reach him on social media at Emeka Film across all platforms.